anxiety.
Mm.
That stomach ache that was, that very familiar stomach ache and sense of stress that I carried around with me was in fact anxiety. I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
I didn't have that label at the time.
Okay.
I just thought it was always my normal. And I decided I was going to try to learn more about it and
Hmm.
do something about it. So that's when
Okay.
I started to read philosophy and thinking that some of the great thinkers of the ages might have something to
Hmm.
say about, life skills, which of course they do. And that's what led to my interest in neuroscience, to understand, what about these, philosophical ideas or the spiritual ideas
Hmm.
work neurobiologically to improve
Mm.
the sense of well-being. And what
Yep.
got me interested in meditation and mindfulness and well-being when I
Hmm.
partnered with Nate Klemp, and we wrote Start Here, Master
Hmm.
the Lifelong Habit of Wellbeing. And we, were
Mm.
so lucky with that project. It became a New York Times bestseller and still
Great.
sells like crazy, because it is a distillation of how do we harness really the best ideas in the most efficient way to
Hmm.
better our own sense of self, sense of
Sure.
well-being. And
Yeah.
at the core is this idea of mindfulness, of
Mm.
presence, of living in gratitude,
Yeah.
feeling and flowing compassion. I mean, these are new ideas, and they're
Hmm.
certainly not ideas that are foreign to the spiritual traditions.
Sure.
But what is sort of new is that we can practice these things
Mm.
to have them show up in a really powerful way in our own lives.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, when we start to relax and feel better,
Hmm.
we'll start to notice the effect that we can have on the people around us.
Oh my
And
goodness. Yeah.
and our own, translate this all the way back to success in the workplace. There's a direct line
Yeah.
between how we perform as as a person,
Hmm.
and how our business performs, and
Mm.
how a collection of people are performing as a group of people, and how the
Yeah.
overall business performs.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree with that. I used to say, when you think about, kind of engagement, right? Or the emotional attachment that, because that's how I define engagement, the emotional attachment that an individual has to your organization or brand. The culture of your organization is really an amalgamation of each, individual who's a member of each department, who's a member of the broader organization, right? And so it just aligns perfectly with what you just said. That's just so well said.
No, you're exactly right. We actually have a chapter on engagement. And so, to
Yeah.
that exact point, and by the way, one of the conversations that you and I had, where you introduced to me this concept of 168, which
Hmm.
is so clever and so powerful, but to illuminate that we do have choice around how we spend our time,
Yeah.
um, and.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Eric, as always, one, I am so grateful for the time that we get to spend together. I'm secretly trying to figure out how I can spend more of my 168 with you, or I guess at this point it's the 1,200 hours that are waking across the year, a little bit more. But as we're kind of winding down our conversation today, you know. I'm thinking through, and would love for you to just be able to chat a little bit more about your work at Abundant. And one of the things that I'm interested in is, you talked about, the ability to, kind of build companies in a way where, they're profitable, but you're also doing well, right? And I would love to hear a little bit more about, how that kind of came up, and how you all have been able to, really stick to, that as kind of a core value, in a time where, at times people are building, say, tech organizations, not necessarily from the perspective of doing well, but maybe more of a focus on disruption and then becoming a unicorn, right? And that's a complete overgeneralization of the tech industry in general. So I want to be fair, to that. But how have you all been able to just kind of stick to not only that value, but I know you have some other core values and remain focused on that?
Well, Donnie, it's completely aligned with this conversation we've been having. So we set out 10 years ago when we created Abundant Venture Partners to create a firm that was in service of working to create the world in which we want to live. Anchored in the idea that you can do good and do well. Anchored in the idea that we need to be accountable to ourselves, to each other, to the world at large. Anchored in the idea that the way to a bigger slice of pie is to grow the entire pie. And so we've always invested in an outside amount of energy and resources in building culture and build a place where it's what we've been talking about, where people can come to work every day. And we work in healthcare and all things digital. These are our passions, where they can come to work every day and express curiosity, show up in an accountable way, accountable to to themselves, as we've talked, and grow. And what we've learned is, and we didn't think about this when we started the firm, but it makes complete sense in retrospect. I mean, all of that has become a competitive advantage, because who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? It attracts the best people.
It's the Holy Grail. It's the Holy Grail.
It's the Holy Grail. Now, I will tell you, we still have work to do. We are not getting it right. We're not getting it completely right. I think we're getting it a lot right, but it's it's our work, and we're fired up about it. So we're not done, and it's really a remarkable place with incredible collection of people leaning in every day, all on purpose and on mission. And that feeds me. That just energizes me in the biggest way.
Yeah. I mean, I think those last two things you said, just being able to do things on purpose and on mission. Once again, it's semi cliche, but definitely is kind of the Holy Grail that I'm sure. Even as we're seeing, the number of generations and stuff in the workforce at this time, I feel like across the past 4 or 5 generations, that's what people are consistently seeking, right? When they're looking for a company to work for, a place that they can be proud of, a place that they can come every day and still be energized, et cetera. So kudos to you all, for continuing to keep that front and center, for that. I've got to witness just a taste, of it during our times in Chicago, but definitely an organization I admire and something that I'll still be watching and kind of cheering from the sidelines as you all continue to build. Eric, thank you. As we talk about gratitude, just want to be extremely grateful and thankful for your time today. Excited to, once again, just that you are in my circle. And hopefully I can continue to add value to what you're looking to do. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Only Dream Big podcast. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Donnie. Thanks for doing this important work.
That's all for today, folks. See you next time.